What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we've got inside the White House secret rooms.
Hopefully we're going to visit here next year.
Yeah, hopefully we're going to visit here next year. That's the plan. Yeah, they'll be safe. We're going to visit Tennessee, DC. I'm guessing we can't see the secret rooms. I'm
going to guess.
Unless, Trump comes down and goes, we've got some VIPs, we've got the Beesleys, and then takes us in the secret rooms.
No, I'm not sure.
I think we're going to need like a good 100 million people watch our videos consistently between now and then for that to happen.
Yeah. So and maybe a connection to the White House.
No, if we're getting 100 million views a video, I think we might be able to blag it.
Okay.
So pass it on to your friends and get them to pass it on to their friends, and we just need that a million times.
Okay. Yeah, if you guys, we'll see.
We'll see. But the onus is on you guys now. Smash the like button, guys. Smash the subscribe button. Are you ready?
I am.
Let's go. What we got?
This is the White House, and there's a lot more here than the 10,000 people who visit it every week will ever see. This is a building that's become built for crisis. Underneath its huge lawns and iconic facade lies a White House within the White House, a hidden world built to keep the government running when everything else fails. And in a true emergency, that hidden world might be the only thing standing between order and chaos.
Oh, that is very true. It's protection,
in late 2001, America was under attack, and Vice President Dick Cheney was being rushed underground into a bunker that most Americans didn't even know existed. It's called the Presidential Emergency Operations Center, or PEOC. He was lucky it was there, because for most of its history, the White House had no such plan, and it almost cost the country everything.
Oh, wow.
It's actually a miracle that the White House is still standing. Architect James Hoban envisioned a modest and transparent executive mansion. The White House...
What do you mean?
I'm not saying that...
What do you mean?
I'm not saying anyone should do anything to the White House, but I'm surprised that that hasn't been a target.
Yeah, I suppose. I suppose when you actually think about it, there isn't too many target attacks on the US, because I guess they snuff them all out. It's very rare for it to happen, isn't it? So,
yeah.
But I get what you mean.
Maybe it has been, but it's been found out.
Maybe, yeah, maybe.
But you wouldn't release it, would you? Like, you wouldn't say the White House will potentially under attack. So.
I guess so. And also, again, I suppose this is going to sound really, really bad, but like, I'm not in the minds of people who do this, but maybe they're going for more dense populated areas.
Yeah, I was going to say they do tend to go for more populated. The amount, I think their goal is the amount of people, isn't it?
Yeah, but I suppose if a lot of people are touring it, but it's not, you don't think, when you think of where a lot of people would be, you don't think White House, I guess.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know.
You do see. He hadn't built any secret escape passages or shelters into the building, which came back to haunt it in 1814 when the British set it on fire and left damage that would last for over 100 years. After the surprise attack on Pearl Harbor, the Secret Service finally came to the unsettling realization that the White House was not ideal for survival. Its soft sandstone construction was no match for modern bombs.
It looks
to make matters worse, there was no plan of getting the president to safety if the White House was ever attacked. No shelters, no escape routes. Major improvements were needed.
Yeah, I don't feel like the US did not have a plan.
So before 1941 ended, construction began on not one, but two subterranean projects. The first one was the bunker that Dick Cheney would be rushed into 60 years later.
Wow.
This is the East Wing, and the PEOC is nearby, far underground. The bunker was at first a tiny place, just 40 feet by 40 feet. Even so, it had the necessary accommodations, a medical room, food and water that could last for days, and an independent power system with diesel generators, all protected by concrete walls 7 feet thick.
7 feet, that's huge.
That's more than what you get buried at.
Yeah, that's mad. That's 2 meters. Yeah. That's that twice, just a wall. That's insane. That is actually insane. It's needed.
FDR couldn't stand the place. He famously complained about the stench of diesel and damp. It wouldn't stay that way for long, fortunately. It would soon evolve in response to another threat. No, not the one from Japan, rather the one from 1814. The damage from the burning and 150 years of habitation now began to seriously erode the White House's structural integrity, and it required extensive overhauls during Harry Truman's second term. The bunker was just one of the things that got redone. It was expanded to become the modern PEOC. But here's where things get interesting. In 2018, a sinkhole opened on the north lawn. It was a snapshot of how much this once simple bunker has expanded over the years. Look carefully. The sinkhole is staring down on radiation-resistant concrete over 100 feet deep. The revelation jibed with the idea that the PEOC evolved during the Cold War to give the president a fighting chance of surviving a nuclear attack.
So you
We
could
don't
actually
know
live
how
down
big
there.
the bunker beneath that concrete is now, but these photos taken from it when Dick Cheney was there revealed a room big enough for a full staff to operate in. 16 people could sit at the table, though it did look cramped. Former
Yeah,
First
but
Lady
also, like, if 16 people are down there, I bet they've got other rooms they can go into as well. And, yeah, I guess if it's just always expanding it, it could be huge.
Yeah, because really you can't. You're pretty safe underground.
Yeah, to an extent. Yeah, to an extent, I guess.
Safer than being upground.
If there's a nuclear war, you want to be underground and you want to be safe, I guess.
Laura Bush also revealed a little about it in her 2010 memoir. According to her, there were big steel doors that closed with a loud hiss to form an airtight seal, and a lot of TVs and communications equipment. It looked
Makes
more
sense.
like a Cold War bunker than a presidential suite. Old tile floors, exposed pipes, and a bed that looked like it hadn't been touched since the 1940s. Laura
You're there
said
for
it looked
survival.
like it
Yeah.
had been there since FDR's time. Both the president and first lady said no and returned to the residence. They were apparently willing to take the risk.
Oh, wow.
However, this isn't the whole story. The PEOC wasn't the only Cold War era escape plan. Just a few hundred feet away, another secret was taking shape. It leads here, the U.S. Treasury Building. And it's more than a center of global finance. It's a fortress, a much more robust one than the White House started as. It began construction in 1836 and boasts enormous granite foundations
Oh, that
and
looks
highly
sick, to be
secured
fair.
Yeah, it
vaults.
does.
It's so secure that it was proposed as an emergency shelter as early as 1861. If worse came to worse in the Civil War, General Winfield Scott hatched plans to use it as a last-stand fort, with President Lincoln securely stuffed inside. But when America entered
I
World
mean, it makes sense. If you've got a bank, basically a bank what is impenetrable, it seems like. Why you put a president in there?
Exactly.
It's better than being in a White House which didn't have
And
anything.
it's just across the road.
Just across the road. I mean, obviously you'd have to run across, but I suppose now they've got the underground. They don't need it, do they?
No.
Just be underground, be safe. Even though they don't like the beds. That's a bit snobbish, weren't it?
That was a bit snobby.
You're
You're
guaranteeing
there
your
to not
safety.
die. So many people would rather sleep in that bed than be in their houses.
I mean, obviously they weren't a big enough threat because they took the risk. I feel like if it was a case of there's like
you're
a
really
90%
stupid
chance.
if there's a big threat, you're stupid because you don't want to sleep in the bed then.
Yeah, I'm guessing the threat in their mind was like 10% or something.
Yeah.
But if you told...
Still, a threat's a threat. Like,
True.
sleep on a bed for like that bed for a night. It's still a bed. At least you're not sleeping on the floor like some people.
Yeah, exactly.
War II, one of its vaults became particularly special. As the Secret Service was building the White House bunker, it was also at work turning an abandoned vault into a 10-room apartment suite for the president and his entourage.
What?
Only built should the need arise as the bunker was being constructed. After all, the Treasury Building is very close to the east wing of the White House, near
A
the
vault?
bunker. Just
A
look
10-room
at it on a
suite?
map. The tunnel is supposedly 761 feet, and you can see one part
It's
of it.
actually a tunnel.
Look closely by the Treasury Annex on H Street. This alley between two buildings was a side effort of the Treasury Tunnel, and the pictures don't do it justice in how secure it really is. It has a ram-proof gate and a bullet-resistant Secret Service kiosk built directly into the wall. So don't think of trying to take a stroll there without authorization.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, on the other side of the White House, a different kind of secret passage was being carved. One not for bombs, but for political maneuvering. You might have noticed by now that the bunker and tunnel are by the east wing. But as
Yeah.
we've already seen, the White House is enormous, and presidents spend a lot of their time here in the West Wing on the other side of the building. It's where the working day is done, after all. What happens
so they
if
sleep
there's
there
a
and
sudden emergency there? The Secret Service reportedly thought about that during President Reagan's time, specifically about how to guard him against a potential terrorist attack. So there's a tunnel by the Oval Office now.
Another
Supposedly,
tunnel.
it opens via a hidden panel on a wall near the restroom next to the Oval Office. It
Okay.
reveals a stairway leading down to a well-lit passage. There are two exits. One goes to a storage closet in the residence. The other leads to an office in the basement of the West Wing that was once the White House barbershop, unlike the Cold
Wow.
War era PEOC.
Wait. I don't know if it still is a barbershop in the White House, but at one point there was a barbershop in the White House.
What's the point? Like, you only need to get one customer, no?
I mean, he's going to pay you quite well, I guess.
Wow.
Wow, I know, that's impressive. Unless he was just like brought in and he just had to do the haircuts in the White House.
Maybe.
So he didn't work there all the time. But I suppose you got all the staff.
True.
You got all the, I guess, cleaners and all that. They could want trims. Yeah. Impressive.
Interesting. Very
This wasn't for surviving a nuclear strike. It was Reagan's personal back door. He supposedly used it to shuttle former President Nixon into a foreign policy meeting without tipping off the press.
Okay.
But the West Wing was hiding something else, something far more secretive. In 2007, this white building suddenly went up near the West Wing. 3 years later, these mysterious fences were built. This was a project so sprawling that contemporary news reports called it the White House Big Dig. The Obama administration downplayed it as a necessary infrastructure systems replacement, and by 2012, both the fences and the white building disappeared. No one knows what this project was for, but the speculation was that the little building was a temporary data center whose operations have since moved underground.
Maybe.
What we do know is that there's a dedicated staff just to sustain this secret infrastructure. It's over 100 strong. All of the infrastructure needs to be kept in repair.
Definitely.
It's electrical currents running even during EMPs and cleared of clutter to ease rapid movement. Not all of the secret rooms built into the White House since 1814 are so serious, though. There's not much point in being president if you can't have a little fun at your enormous taxpayer-funded estate. President Trump has a certain button.
I feel like that was a little bit of a dig, I guess. I don't know if it was or not, but that felt a dig.
I feel like it was.
But yeah, why not have some fun? Why not?
In the Oval Office. No, it's not the one you're thinking about. When he pushes it, it's an order for someone to bring him a Diet Coke. But that's far from the only sweet thing on hand.
That's pretty cool.
Presidents long before him had a sweet tooth. So much so that there's a dedicated chocolate shop in the residence. There's also a pastry kitchen that not only prepares presidential sweets, but food for foreign dignitaries. Everything in the White House assists in government functions, and food can be a vital part of diplomacy.
Yeah.
When Queen Elizabeth II came in 2007, the dessert staff planned 6 months in advance, and that was a visit from the head of state of America's closest ally.
Yeah,
the stakes were much higher 20 years earlier when Soviet Premier Mikhail Gorbachev came to the White House on December 8, 1987, for the finalization of the Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Treaty. As part of the diplomatic push,
that's a big one.
then White House pastry chef Roland Messier presented Gorbachev with a Kremlin-inspired dish of honey vanilla ice cream with a tea parfait on top of a chocolate base.
I mean, it looks nice, but imagine the pressure you'd have there.
Yeah.
Such a big thing. Imagine if you give him a little bit of food poisoning or something.
Oh my God,
you're a dead man, aren't you?
Your job's gone.
The relationship between Reagan and Gorbachev was strong, and the treaty lasted until 2019. So maybe there's something to be said about the power of a sweet tooth and the infrastructure to fulfill the demand. The chocolate and pastry shops aren't busiest during state occasions, though. The most intense part of the job is during Easter, when they produce these huge chocolate bunnies. In fact, the pastry kitchen once made an entire Easter town, complete with a population of rabbits, birds, and piglets. Over 400,000 people attended the White House Easter egg roll, and presidential kids and grandkids are no exception. But there's a much more private place that the first family can retreat to as a temporary refuge from the bustle of public life. William Howard Taft would raise an eyebrow if he could hear that the place he first built is now called the Solarium. There was no air conditioning when he was president, and it gets hot in the summer in Washington. It was once a swamp, after all. So he had an idea. Build a deck so he and his family wouldn't have to sleep in the White House's stuffy, uncomfortable interior. The sleeping porch expanded during President Coolidge's time at the behest.
That feels risky. I suppose back then there weren't drones and stuff like that. That feels risky, just sleeping outside.
Yeah, I don't know where this is going to go.
Yeah.
The First Lady Grace. She transformed it into a permanent structure with furnishings including a writing table and a phonograph. It's often been a retreat since then. FDR's grandchildren lived there during his first term. Eisenhower's grandchildren played there too. Ike would often spend his spare time grilling his own meat for his family to enjoy when it was finally done. But this is the White House, and even the most calming rooms can sometimes get serious fast. Nixon called a family meeting there in 1974 with the news that he would resign. That episode revealed the contradiction that he's always been built into the White House itself. The White House was envisioned as the modest but comfortable residence of an elected head of state for a simple republic. That's why James Hoban didn't build secret passages into it at first. The tradition continues. Republican institutions need to be close to the people, and that's why so many people go through the White House every year, but only through some parts. There are others beneath their feet, ones that, for their sake, they should hope never need to be used. Bye for now.
That was very interesting.
Very interesting. A lot we didn't know.
Yeah, definitely. I'm so excited to go.
Yeah, I want to see it. Obviously, we're not going to see all the really, really cool stuff, but it still will be cool.
To see it, yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Hope you guys enjoyed that video. If you did, smash the like button, smash the subscribe, and what is the like goal? And this is at the end of the video, so this is just for the legends.
1,000.
1,000. Let's hit 1,000 likes on this video. We would really appreciate it. And what should we do?
Have a fantastic day.
And we'll see you legends in the next one. Peace.